So my plans have changed quite a bit from the 69 Daytona that I initially planned. Ultimately, I was going to be doing a foam body buck and then doing a fiberglass layup. But because of the cold weather and having an uninsulated garage, I'm in a position where the glue that I have just doesn't cut it. And so the whole mold failed. You can get cold weather glue, but for the amount of glue that I need, it would put this foam idea way past the affordability point at this point in time in my life. So, picked up a 1946 Buick Roadmaster. They're famous for the Fireball 320s. That engine got pulled out along with the transmission, and we will continue the, I guess, idea of body swapping onto this Chrysler 300, keeping that modern drivetrain and that initial plan of the Daytona alive. The maroon panels all unbolt, and so the great thing is there's a little bit of body damage on this passenger rear fender that needs to get pressed out, or a patch made possibly. It's hidden underneath of this bumper, but I want to make sure everything's kind of straight before everything gets painted. Speaking of paint, as you can see, it's got this pretty vibrant color on it. It will be probably a dark B7 Dodge color, maybe even a hair darker. I have decided to even change this torpedo hood ornament into a female figurine. They had that 3D design. We're going to cast out of brass soon enough. The trim's going to get deleted, so that's why you see all these holes. You just put a piece of aluminum out back and weld the plug in. These trims are going to get filled in. I've decided to go LED with the headlights, so I'm going to French them in deep. I've got a 4.5 inch LED round pod that will sit inside this 7-inch section. And then we'll have signal lights. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this grille or not, or we'll modify it. I am not going to be putting on the front bumper, or maybe I will modify the front bumper, like split it in half and not have this section here, and then elongate the grille sections down. The one issue that I am looking at with, even though the body is quite wide enough to sit over the rockers, the rear package tray, and the firewall, ultimately the shock towers for the front are probably going to impact this section. So I either need to make another kind of like headlight torpedo, or what we can do is we can split the hood down the center and then pull each side apart and then just fill that center section in. So then that way this line will then sit farther out and cover that up. So since we are preparing to do the chop, my friend Steven and I framed up the front section yesterday, and I just finished up this back section myself today. It's just 1/2 inch square tubing running from the A pillar to the B pillar in an X, and the B to the C in an X. And then both B pillars are connected with a center rod. This is because when you chop the roof, everything wants to pull inwards. So this rear window is going to get cut along this line here, and then up, and then straight across. And then you leave the sail panel to be pushed in. What ends up having to happen with the front end is you have to split along the A pillar about 6-7 inches in so that you can pull this out, because as you drop down, this narrower section gets even narrower. So it's either cut multiple slots and lean it in, or pull it out. So we'll see what ends up actually working better when we get to that point. I have some custom glass going to get cut. We're going to do our best to try and save this dual opening side piano, I guess, style hood. And then I want to widen the rear end about 4 or 5 inches. So again, because this all unbolts, you can thread into the existing bolts and just give yourself that widened section and then just fill it in with sheet metal. I have some LEDs that'll sit behind these glass tail lights and signal lights. And then I'm going to make some spike style, I guess side markers is what you would call them. The original ones are just kind of a little button, but I might as well fill in this whole section. So I'm going to make a long spike out of resin. This is the only real significant damage in the car, which isn't even really that significant. This can all be pressed out, not too difficult. So, hope you enjoy, and I'll bring you along for the next steps.